Hi, I'm Mike Melsmone with AFM, and today we're going to be going over our LX-350 timing screw assembly mount. For our timing screw mount on our LX-350, the conveyor frame will go through the LX-350 body, as you can see. We want to make sure on the timing screw that it's outside of the cavity and right close to the frame of the machine as far as the location on the conveyor. Because again, on this one, it's a little bit different than other ones where it's mounting and the conveyor goes through the frame itself. When you receive the 800mm timing screw, it's going to come in the box. It's going to be the timing screw itself with the motor, the accessory box to mount to the conveyor. There's a backup photo eye sensor that mounts upstream of the timing screw, as well as the flying cord that will plug into the machine. For the placement of the 800mm timing screw, we'll want to make sure that our conveyor frame is sturdy enough to hold the timing screw assembly, because we're going to have to bolt the timing screw assembly, drill and tap into our conveyor. There are 4 bolts that hold this on. Underneath here we'll see the slots on the timing screw assembly and the bolts that hold it on. So again, we'll have to drill 4 holes in the side, mount it to the side of the conveyor frame so we can adjust for the height up and down. After we get the timing screw mounted to the conveyor, we want to check for the vertical height placement on the container. Today we're going to be looking at a 3-pack of pill bottles. So as the timing screw vertical placement goes, we want to make sure the timing screw is hitting about the middle or a little bit lower than the middle on the container. After we get the vertical height adjustment for the timing screw set, we want to make sure that the timing screw is centered the containers on the conveyor center line. So we're going to look at the horizontal adjustment of the timing screw now to make sure our containers are centered on the conveyor. There are 2 knobs to move the timing screw in and out. What this is going to do is allow us to center the containers on the conveyor as they pass underneath this lever. After the containers and the timing screw are centered on the conveyor, we want to make sure that the back guide rail will be centered on the containers as well, to make sure that the containers are released from the timing screw down the center. So on this setup, we have our old guide rail on the back side of the timing screw to make sure that these containers don't move left and right on the conveyor. The timing screw will also come with a sensor. This sensor and reflector is used for the back pressure for the containers before the containers hit the timing screw. We'll have to mount these to the conveyors as well. There'll be a hardware packet that comes with. We'll have to drill and tap into the conveyor. For the location of this, we want to make sure it's sufficiently far enough upstream of the timing screw start to make sure that the sensor and reflector are opposed from each other to detect the containers, to make sure that there's enough containers in the backup so it doesn't allow 1 or 2 to pass through if we need 3. When we go and have the timing screw mounted to the conveyor and we're all set to plug it in, there'll be a cord end and connector to plug into the side of the LX-350. It's labeled timing screw. So you'll take this cord connection, plug it into the connector on the side, and lock it in. Now our timing screw is active. For timing screw changeovers, or if you're going to mount the actual timing screw in the timing screw device, we'll have to loosen and take the cover off, loosen 2 bolts, main feed and the exit side, the wrench, loosen these bolts, and this is going to open up like a clamshell. We'll hold the bolts in our hand, loosen this side, take the bolts out, and then open up the clamshell on this side. Want to make sure the power is off to the machine, so there's no pinch points in here. After that, we can take and lift the timing screw out. And there are 2 bearings on each end of the timing screw to make sure those sit in the slot. I'll place this here, and the clamps will clamp back down onto the timing screw, and then we'll tighten the bolts to lock the timing screw in place. Once we have the timing screw in place, we want to double check our pocket depth and our containers. So we'll put our containers in, we'll check the movement in the containers. As you can see, these are a little loose yet, so we'll want to tighten this a little bit on both ends to make sure that we have a nice snug fit inside of our pocket of our screw. Once we have the timing screw mounted, centered on the conveyor and all of our guide rails set up, I want to double check that the exit container leaves the timing screw itself, auger, and the conveyor belt to check the speed. For this demonstration, We're going to do it with the conveyor off to show you the principle of how they should leave, and then we'll come back around and do it with the conveyor running so you can see. If we get a close-up of the top-down view, we have a 3-pack on this particular example. We want these 3 containers to stay together. So the speed of the belt is going to be matched to the pitch or the speed of these containers as they travel through. So that way, as the speed of the belt takes these containers away, they'll exit out of the timing screw and stay together all the way down. We're going to go through a demonstration of a 3-pack with the timing screw and the auger and the conveyor chain speed to make sure that the containers are fed appropriately so they're not 1, 2, make sure they're all 3 together. So the backup sensor that was mounted upstream, it's important to make sure there's enough pressure on the upstream side of the timing screw so that these stay together and then travel through the timing screw, and they're ejected from the timing screw and stay together.